Ahoy! I was actually getting started today. Anywho, regardless of who is able to show up during this call and this time, we'll be posting the recording to YouTube afterwards, as well as highlights from this to this channel, the Barbell Logic Academy channel. If you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to drop them in the comments. What we're talking about today, and I mentioned this after last week, they are time, money, and practice audits. Now, that sounds hella boring. What are time, money, and practice audits? So these are practices that we built for coaches, that we built into the Online Coaching Excellence course. And for most of our coaches who go through, who we talk to, who I've talked to about running these audits, they are the number one, they are the first thing that I recommend people do in terms of practical, down on the ground ways to save their businesses and pull themselves out as coaches from what feels like overwhelm, what feels like being lost. So what are these audits and what do they do? The first is a money audit. Is this the most important one? Is this the one you have to get done first? Not necessarily, but it is probably the easiest to do and the ones we already have the tools for, because you are looking retroactively at your expenses. What goes into a money audit? Money audit, you're going to look through, you can use an app for this. So YNAB, you need a budget. You can use that. You can use Mint. Or I think Mint got absorbed into Intuit. There are a bunch of different apps available for one of these audits. But what are you doing? You're figuring out your monthly costs. Your monthly, if you have a coaching business already, you want to separate this into your personal costs, like just what it takes to be alive and run your day-to-day. And then you want to separate those out from your business costs, what it takes to keep your business up and running. Because those are two very different questions we're going to get to in a minute as to what that does. Once you figure out your monthly expenses by looking back 3 months into using one of these apps, or just looking at your credit card statements, figuring out how much that you paid over those 3 months. That is the baseline money audit. And you'd be amazed actually how much you can get just from that. And here's what we're looking for with these money audits. First, to know where you are, to know how much it is costing to run your business, to know how much it costs to be you, to live, to eat, to try, to cover transportation wherever you're at, because these are both two important things. 2, extend your on-ramp or extend your ramp. So in startups and like startup entrepreneurship, your ramp is how long you have with the venture capital that you have. So if you manage to run $2 million and you're running at a burn of $500,000 a year, then you know, with my capital, I'm only going to be able to go 4 years. I need to be profitable within 4 years or this business is toast. You can take this same kind of concept of a ramp and apply it to your business. I need this business to earn me X revenue to cover my expenses within a certain amount of time. I have X amount of savings. I can live off that for a certain amount of time. Knowing your ramp is huge, and we can extend that ramp through a money audit one of 2 ways. And the first is, it's like a soft, like it's the lighter savings. So this is literally going through your last 3 months is a minimum. I actually go back a year when I do mine. And look for subscriptions. Look for payments that you didn't think you needed to make, or payments that you didn't realize you were still making. Almost anyone who is stuck in our modern subscription-based platform economy probably have more than you really know or really need right here at the moment. And that's just surface level. Recently I did a check of my own. I went back a year and just off the top level saved about $27 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot. You average that out over the year. That's $300, $400. But more savings even come from the next 2 practices. First, look anything that costs over $100 for the last 12 months. So this will often be like subscription services or products that you don't need that only charge you on an annual basis. And although this is different in some places, like I think the EU requires that these annual services notify you when your annual subscription is about to be due. Not all of them do in the US, I've noticed. So going back, I found 3 apps that I had used, one was Captions.ai, as I was looking to develop like Instagram and see how I was going to do that. And I'm not going to use that in the future. So knocking those out, make sure that you don't accidentally make those payments, accidentally get those headaches. So that's another one. Doing that recently, I saved about another $200 to $300 a year. And then here's the hard dig into a money audit, which is savings through renegotiation. If you look at health insurance, car insurance, actually most insurance, and then any open loans that you have, and check to see if there are better rates, you would be amazed. Almost, if you have any service, any insurance practice that you've got right now, if you've had it for longer than 5 years, you can probably shave over $100 a year just by switching to a different service because of switch rates. But also, right now, our house, I was doing a money audit years back, I think it was 4 years back, and noticed that the interest rates were lower than they were when we got the house significantly. So we refinanced the house. Turns out to have been one of the best decisions I ever made. Literally over the course of the mortgage of the house, we'll save tens of thousands of dollars. So when it comes to a money audit, first, knowing where you are. Second, extending your personal ramp by cutting expenses, even just top line expenses, even the ones that are easy, that don't actually require you to change your lifestyle. And then third, know your number. Knowing how much you're spending allows you to know two key numbers. The first is your freedom number. How much, if everything was to go to pot, my business was to go to zero, you're stuck in the middle of a country song. How much do I need to pay for rent, food, and transit? To pay just the basic expenses like utilities, to live and keep going. Knowing that opens up a lot of options. Are you a professional right now but looking to transition into being a coach full time? Well, if your coaching income can meet your freedom number, you can make that switch. There are other numbers that you can establish. There's your lifestyle number. What are your current expenses? So I would need my coaching business to meet this revenue per month if I'm going to live the same lifestyle that I'm living now. That's another way you can track it. And then finally, there's target expenses. So I'm trying to save for financial independence, retire early. I'm trying to hit a nest egg. How much do I need to save per month? That's how much I need to make. So knowing your money audit, doing your money audit is how we can establish these. And instead of just, I need to earn more, or I'm not sure, I'm not ready to make the switch yet, what does that mean in hard numbers? What do I need to be ready? Next, so there's the money audit, time audits. Time audit is one of the harder of the three, but it's kind of the second one I recommend for a couple of reasons. It's the one that makes the biggest impact opens people's awareness to how their life and how their business currently is. And here's how we do it. You can do it one of three ways. You can do it on a piece of paper, literally take a piece of lined paper, like a notebook, and each line represents 30 minutes. I prefer 15. I think you should cut it down to 15 if you can, but 30 minutes. If you're going to do 15 minutes, you're going to need both sides of the paper in order to get that done from wake to sleep. You don't need to log sleep hours. That would be weird. You can use a Google Sheets or a Excel. You can use any kind of spreadsheet in order to do this. There are ways that we include in the Online Coaching Excellence to make that easier for you by presetting your columns just so that it's boop, boop, on your phone, but you can use a sheet. Additionally, you can use an app. There are free apps like Toggl, Toggl, but there's a million other ones. I just use Toggl sometimes, which will allow you to run a time audit by category, and you start and stop events as they happen. What does a time audit do for you? One, on a surface level, I get to know what I'm doing in my day. And does this align with my values? When I look at where I'm actually spending my time, am I as busy as I think I am? That's a tough one. A lot of people, they feel this overwhelm, but when they actually put time down on paper, they're like, I'm only working, only putting time in really deep focus 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. Where is my time going? Sometimes. There could be other things that we get from our time audits. Sure, there's the top line, but then also if you separate your time audits by category, for instance, I personally prefer to separate personal and business into two different categories. You can figure out your dollar per hour. So it might feel like, oh wow, I'm getting paid $25 an hour or $30 an hour on the floor as a CrossFit coach. That's your current work right now. You're doing group coaching classes. But when you count your total time, driving there, opening the gym, chatting with clients after the gym, closing the gym, handling admin, handling that kind of thing, you actually find, like I did, that your dollar per hour is $11.40, I think, was what I calculated back when I was earning, on paper, $25 an hour. This can be a really important way to break down where that time is going and whether you're earning what you think you're earning. Finally, practice audits. This one's a little bit more abstract. So in the Online Coaching Excellence course, we go into a lot more detail into how to make this work. The point of a practice audit is twofold. One, to identify waste. If you are sending the same type of email more than once a day, it should be a template. It should be pre-built into something that boop, boop, and you're going to modify it each time. Just do a quick check for names and like personalize it, but it should be templated. Same thing with programs. Same thing with responses that you give to clients. If they have common questions, you should have a frequently asked questions built up to save you time. These are, again, we go into more detail in OCE, but if you are, just think about building a car. If you are putting in time that is not putting more cars out the door, that is wasted. If you're putting time, energy, and money into a response to a client that isn't changing how they move, how they execute on the program, that is time wasted that you just don't need to be spending. So the first thing we do is identify waste. The second thing we do is identify what is making us happy or unhappy. Are there parts of your coaching life as you identify your practice, as you go through, like, man, I really enjoy coaching calls. I enjoy chatting with my clients on Zoom calls or whatever. I hate the day-to-day of putting programs into apps. But maybe that's you. Knowing that, even if your product, even if your execution is waste-free, you are super efficient, but you're also delivering at a high quality that you care about, fantastic. But as you go through your practice audit, as you go through your day-to-day and you realize, I hate doing this part of my job. I hate this particular piece of admin. I hate cold DMs. Whatever it is, it doesn't make me happy. It doesn't spark joy. This gives you an opportunity to think, do I need to be doing that? Or can I change how I do that to align with me personally and how my personality works and how I want to live and execute my business? Can I make this more satisfying? Because in the end, the number one thing we talk about in Coaching 101 in the Principles course is to be a coach. You need to coach. That's a big one, right? And you need to be able to you need to keep learning. Like, you need to open up new opportunities because things change. And then you need to stay in the game. So you need to not get knocked out of the game. And if the daily grind is upsetting and you hate it, you are not going to stay in the game. So that is it for today. Going over the mechanics of a money audit, a time audit, and a practice audit. Figuring out how much you're spending in order to answer questions. It's not good to have, there we go, here's my budget by category, like presented in an app. The reflection is what matters. Knowing your freedom number, knowing your financial independence number, whatever it is you're trying to solve, that is the outcome that we get out of a money audit, because that changes our decisions. As a coach, it would be like to run a budget and just, now I have a budget, would be like tracking macros without a plan. What's the point? We take that information to change decisions. Same with our time audit. We don't just want to have a nifty spreadsheet that tells us this is how I spent the last 1 week of my life. No, we want that to change decisions. Am I wasting time where I shouldn't be? Am I using my time effectively? And are there places where I can block time? So one of the most common time wasters is in online coaching is I do like 20 minutes here, 30 minutes here, 40 minutes here, and it's spread throughout the day. So every time I have to log in and then kind of get my head straight and then log out, and then I'm in a different place, and then I'm using my laptop instead of my desktop. Using our time audit can help us to identify those moments where I can get it done in half the time if I just get my stuff together and get it done. And then finally, our practice audits. Identifying waste and identifying things that just suck so that we can stay in the game for longer. We can not only get the same work done in less time, but we can enjoy what it is that we're doing. We can be satisfied in the product that we're delivering. So that is it for today. We cover this in a lot more detail in Online Coaching Excellence, and we answer questions about it and talk about it in our Slack channel at the Barbell Academy, as well as in our monthly coaching calls for Academy students. If you have any questions, feel free to message this channel, right? It should be on the doobly-doo, like up on the top left. Barbell Logic Academy here on Instagram. You can message me at CJ Gocher on Instagram. That's my personal channel. Or if you're a student, you know where to find me in the Slack, or cgocher, all one word, I think. Yes, all one word, at barbell-logic.com for email. Thank you so much. Like I said, recording will be put on YouTube, and the highlights will be put on the Instagram channel. Next week, we're going to talk about how to give yourself imposter syndrome. If you absolutely want to be constantly anxious about whether or not you are a decent coach or should be coaching, the things that you would have to do to put yourself there. And obviously, on the counter, how not to do that. Thanks so much, and I will catch you next week.